Hi, my name is Jan Hesselink. I'm a neuroscientist and a medical doctor, and people ask me to speak on the topic the brain and channeling aspects, especially channeling of light language. Now, the first step you should do if you want to know a little bit more about channeling and light language is go into YouTube, use the words light language or channeling, and look what are the people who are channeling and how are they channeling? Is there a resemblance between these people or is there a clear authenticity somewhere? If all people do the same and it looks like fancy or funny, then there is a high chance that it's not authentic. But there is much more to this topic. The most interesting part is what does the brain do to make channeling possible. In order to channel light language, you have to create a situation for yourself that you fall into a deep trance or a deep meditative state. The essence of this state is the absence of the ego functions, the absence of all kinds of wishes or expectations, how it should go, where it comes from, and so on and so forth. In order to reach that state, you have to be an experienced meditator or an experienced shaman. So if you don't have this background, it is difficult. Spontaneous channeling is not something which happens very simple if there is not a trance state or a meditative state. We have explored the brain functions in the Amazon, in tribes which used ayahuasca, and in meditators, and we found clearly that either ayahuasca trance is necessary or a deep meditative state for the brain to come into a state of receptivity. If the ego functions are still active, the brain has a total different sorts of waves, and these waves are not allowing to really become empty and receptive for whatever is channeled. Now, if the brain is prepared via meditation or trance to receive a channeled message or a channeled light language, then you will see that the person who is channeling will make certain gestures which resemble a bit the gestures from the old tankas in Tibet. The old tankas in Tibet give many mudras, hand forms, and the essence of these hand forms is that they are relatively old if you look at it from a neurophysiological perspective. We call these movements athetotic movements. They can only happen if the person which are doing them, apart from me now doing it voluntarily, is in a trance state, because these movements are supported by old brain functions, which normally are suppressed by the ego functions of the cortex. So one of the main indicators if channeling is an authentic phenomena is to see if there are extrapyramidal movements. If there are voluntary movements, like typing movements, then mostly these movements are directly linked to the highest cortical functions, meaning that you are not an empty reed or an empty flute on which the divine winds can blow their music. The essence of becoming empty, the essence of becoming a channel which needs to be empty, otherwise the message cannot come through, is that you lose your ego functions. Ego functions are needed to type on a typewriter. Why do I use this analogy? Because I have seen some videos of people channeling and they were making typewriter movements. These are the highest cortical movements we can make, and they are clearly an indicator that there is not a trance, neither a deep meditative state, but that it is a thought process. And we don't want a thought process, we want a channeling process. There are many more indicators, but this is the essence which you can use to differentiate between authentic channeling or channeling which is done by the ego.